like a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pimps, players, women of the night. The only podcast that comes with the Surgeon General's warning. Here's Big Tobacco's favorite musician, Joe Bengilla. And his friend, old Pete. Sit back, relax, and listen to this thing here. Yeah, all right. Thank you, Dexter. Welcome back.
Man, that was, I feel like the theme song really had a little something extra in it.
It did a hell of a kick on it.
Yeah, man. I like where our theme song is going in this show.
About twice as long as it needed to be, but
yeah, hey, man. Hey, that's a theme song. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't hear them cut off the Brady Bunch theme song because it was too long. They went ahead and told the whole backstory of that family.
Dude, how else would it have been if like your granddad would have wrote the Brady Bunch theme song? But cashing checks.
That would be, you know what?
Probably not.
I heard.
Somebody probably got screwed along.
God, I heard. It was funny. I can't remember who said it either, but I was watching something and it was an interview with Henry Winkler, and there was
the
Fonzarelli, Arthur Fonzarelli from Happy Days, and he was there with like some comedian, and he was trying to talk about how hard it was to be the Fonz and be so popular, and then like try to get other acting jobs. That was Fonzie's point.
He was typecast as the Fonz.
Right, he was typecast as the Fonz, exactly. And what was funny is this comedian was in the room sitting with him, and the Fonz was like, yeah, I mean, that show was on all the time. Everybody saw me as Fonz, and whoever it was, I can't remember, said, man, that show was on. I mean, it would be like Sunday, Monday, Happy Days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Happy Days.
What a perfectly written lyric.
I think it was Jim Carrey.
Prophecy.
I think it's Jim Carrey making that joke. That's funny.
Well,
there you go.
Funny stuff there, Joe.
Well, thank you very much. That was my Jim Carrey story.
I appreciate that.
This is what Jim Carrey, Fonzie story.
So I think Fonzie. Listen, I never really watched that show.
Me neither.
I don't. There's something about time period shows I can't get into. Like, I'm not talking about like some cowboy movie, but like, or Back to the Future. But anything else that involves time travel, I'm pretty much like, what? I know Happy Days is about time travel, but like,
I don't think Happy Days is a time travel.
I'm talking about like, look, we're in the 50s, but it's really the.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean. You know what? Because I never got into like that 70s show for the same reason.
Me either.
I'm never into that 70s show.
People dress up like they're in the 70s.
Right. Okay. I mean, I know it's like I'd see people watching it. I'd watch it. I'd be like, that's funny.
I've watched it. It's funny. Yeah,
it's not funny. I just never could get into it. I wanted to tell you, Pete.
Did you?
I thought about introducing like a new segment to the show.
Oh, great. I thought we were just going to talk about that 70s show and.
Well.
And various other time period shows that I didn't like,
but not Back to the Future. No, I thought about introducing a new segment to the show where I found out this interesting story, and I wanted to see if you ever heard of it. It's called you might call it the.
What's the segment? Is the segment? Hey, Pete, here's an interesting story that I don't think you've heard of before, or is?
Well, story time.
Joe's story time.
Sure, yeah. Story time with Joe.
All right.
Should I do another theme song?
No, I think we're good on theme song. We can just gather around, little children.
If
sit crisscross applesauce around Joe here, and he's going to tell us a story.
If it becomes a permanent segment, we'll think about a theme song. Okay, this story might be called the Cleveland Balloon Disaster. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not ever heard of Cleveland.
The
Cleveland Balloon Disaster.
I think you might get a kick out of the story. So, it's 1986. Okay. Cleveland is partnered with United Way. They're like the city, and the United Way are trying to do this big thing where they raise the morale of the city. And they're going to release like 2 million helium balloons all at once and get in the Guinness Book of World Records for releasing like 2 million helium balloons into the air. So like 3,000 people stay up all night blowing up helium balloons, and they make a big net to hold them all that's as big as the city square.
How annoying do you think that not the bit of get the helium in your throat and go, was?
You know what?
I did it too.
I bet that happened a few times, but that wasn't what made it a disaster.
Oh,
okay. So there's a bad storm rolling in.
So you're not talking like a comedic disaster. You're talking like something bad. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to.
No, that's okay. I don't want you to jump in. I think that's the beauty of the segment is you've got to just react naturally to the story. You never heard it.
Balloon disaster.
So like
helium balloons.
Helium balloons, just like you see at of whatever football homecoming or whatever. So, I mean, whatever.
I know what you mean, but
so these people blow up these balloons all night. They keep them in this big, net, waiting for them to release. Well, they got to release them early because there's a storm rolling in, right?
Okay.
Now the idea is that if the weather's good, these things would just float up. After a while, they'd come down somewhere. It wouldn't be like a big deal.
Were there messages written on the
things? Nothing like that.
We did that bit in elementary school.
Yeah, I think I've done that one too in elementary, where you write something and you hope somebody somewhere finds it. No, this was more like, it was supposed to be a little more planned, but it wasn't. So what happened was they released these balloons. A big storm rolls in like immediately. That's why they released them early, because they knew a storm was rolling in. Well, instead of being up in the atmosphere long enough to run out of air and then come down like gradually, this wind like knocks all these balloons down. This wind and storm rain just knock the balloons down immediately. It causes like traffic accidents. They have to shut down a runway at the airport because it's covered in balloons.
So they let 3,000 balloons go.
No. 2 million. 2 million.
There were 3,000 people that were airing
3,000 people airing up 2 million balloons.
They aired up 2 million balloons, let them go. A storm comes through.
Knocks them all back down to the ground immediately.
All back down to earth.
Yes. And so now Cleveland is filled with 2 million balloons. Yes, that's exactly. And
that sounds like a disaster.
They got sued because
Boy, how could you get in on that, man? I'd love to get in on the.
Well, because this
balloon disaster suit.
This one lady had a prize stallion.
There's something I will never have. Hey, I need to get some insurance on my prized stallion.
Okay.
You're talking about like a horse or some kind of male prostitute?
No, I'm talking about a horse.
Well, either or.
But no, apparently this was like a racehorse that made them a lot of money kind of thing, or like would breed racehorses with or whatever.
And a balloon crashed into it and killed it?
When all these balloons started coming down at once, it like frightened the horse, and he like ran himself into a major injury.
God, horses are stupid.
Yeah. Well, I think the people who released all these balloons are kind of the problem. Anyway, but listen to this.
So you're pro horse and anti-human?
Sometimes. It depends on the horse and the human.
I'm joking.
So here's the icing on the cake here.
The ice on the cake.
Now, I shouldn't call it that because this is the tragedy part of it. So there is these 2 fishermen out in like Lake Erie that get tipped out of their boat, and the Coast Guard finds their boat empty. And then they're like, we've got to go find these 2 fishermen. So they start to send out boats and helicopters. But then all the balloons come down. And they're like looking for some orange thing bobbing in the water. That's how they're going to save these men. But because of the amount of balloons that fell onto Lake Erie, they had to call off the search. And these 2 men were found like 2 days later dead, man. They washed into shore dead because the Coast Guard couldn't find them because there was 1 million balloons on Lake Erie. Right. Yeah. 21, this is Coast Guard Air. We're having a hard time locating these 2 gentlemen. There seems to be 1.5 million balloons on Lake Erie.
No, he's trying to go.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Captain. I see them down there. Oh, well, by God, get down there and get them.
Yeah. Yeah, get your shit on. Get in there. Balloons is popping.
Why they fucking blew?
What's happening? This person burst.
There's just balloons everywhere. What's going on up there, Captain?
Right.
I seem to have encountered a flock of balloons. These guys are gonna die.
Seems to be 1 million balloons.
It's a terrible story,
isn't it?
It's a disaster.
That is a disaster, and that's...
I don't know why you form things. You say disastrous things with comedic timing, with no punchline, and it makes me sit here and go, like you're about to say something funny, and then nothing funny ever happens. It's just,
I think
these poor people.
Yeah, I think.
And now you've made me look like a jerk. Like I laughed at it.
Well, listen, I'm not saying there's anything funny about these two men dying. What I'm saying is funny.
You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now. I'm not saying there's anything funny about these guys dying.
But I'm not trying to. I'm trying to tell you just a story. Now,
the fish had a good Thanksgiving that year.
Fish had a good Thanksgiving because they ate those guys. It was actually in September.
I was talking about the balloons. See, you're talking about. I feel like I'm talking real hillbilly.
Well, I felt like that. I feel like that sometimes. I listen to playback of our podcast, and sometimes I think, man, I sound weird. But I think that's a normal thing to say when you hear your own voice. Anyway, speaking of other people that sued them, one of the widows of those fishermen sued.
Well, I hope they got thoughts and prayers from Peel Garner and the Reaper.
If you wanted to get on that Sue Cleveland train, that's one way.
Well, I don't know much about Cleveland papers, but I know that in Greenville, if you want to sell a used car or truck, or you want to, buy some farm equipment or something, the Harold Banner Classifieds are a good place to find that. Isn't that right, Joe?
That's right, Pete. Yes. One of our sponsors this week, the Harold Banner Classified Ads. Today's selected advertisement from the classified ads in the Greenville Herald Banner: lost and found lost keys, $100 reward if found. Call 903-494-1046. Lost keys, $100 reward for those lost keys. Thank you to the Greenville Herald Banner classified section. If you have a classified you want to put in the Greenville Herald Banner, please dial 903-455-4220. Once again, 903-455-4220, or send them an email at classifieds@heraldbanner.com. The Greenville Herald Banner classified section. Get read, get results, Herald Banner.
Is it Sunday morning? Do you not want to go to church? But you still want to maybe listen to some church music or something? Hey, we got what you need right here on this channel. We have a little playlist called, what's it called, Joe?
Gospel Song Sunday.
Gospel Song Sunday. Check it out. Now back to the show.
We got some good sponsors for this show. At first, I didn't think we'd get in.
Well, I tell you what, that first one was a little long-winded.
Well, they bought the ad time. What do you want to do?
Did they? Yeah. You got to Venmo me that a little later, I guess.
The ads were my idea. I think you said, and I quote, "No one will ever pay for ad space for this." I'll just say effing. No one will ever play.
Wow, you're starting now. Did you catch some flack for maybe your vocabulary?
Well, hey, man, when I'm promoting a good product like the Harold Banner Classifieds, I don't, I try to keep it straight.
It'd be a funny, probably more like a Mad TV bit. Would be if, you just went to some business with, your regular car.
Yeah.
And you just tried to, sell your ad space on your car. And it was just but you didn't even have a cool car. It's just some piece of crap.
Right. See the door to that old Mustang out there?
Sir, are you talking about the Expedition, the back windshield wiper sticks straight out like a dagger?
That back windshield could say. Could say your business
Domino's Pizza.
Yeah.
People would be like, do you work for Domino's? No, they just put a sticker on my car.
They sponsor.
Give me $40 a month.
They sponsor that Expedition. They sponsor that S10.
They sponsor that space.
Yeah.
They sponsor that space on my windshield.
They bought ad space there, but
no, I don't work for them.
Huh. I don't even need them.
We should start doing that to our friends that own businesses. But, hey, I got an interesting proposition for you. I've got this.
Our friend, yeah.
You know my Avalanche back over here. It's got that back quarter panel, man. I could just put your face. And
put your bar's name right here.
Then nobody ever stop and chat with you again. There's a callback for you.
Oh, we did talk about the Stop and Chat in last week's PSA.
Yeah, you have one this week.
A PSA for this week?
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, I mean, I've got several PSAs that need to go out.
I would have to think about one for a minute, though. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Well, I tell you what, we kind of rolled it into last week's PSA about the Stop and Chat, but I think we teased that this week's PSA would, in fact, be don't go up to people and read their shirts and act like that's a regular thing to do.
That's funny. I thought about that when I grabbed the shirt this morning.
Yeah.
Am I going anywhere today?
Oh, Rangers, huh? Yeah, I know. Look, I'm asking for it. That's why I put this shirt on at night when I was only coming over here. I didn't want to wear it during the day because, oh, look. Oh, you like beer? Like,
you beer guy?
Right. Like, man, I don't want to talk to you about beer. Like, that's not why I wore this shirt.
Why are you so late getting over here tonight? What were we going to do this earlier?
Oh, I had a little disaster that was averted at home.
You've been throwing that disaster word around.
No, hey, this wasn't like
interesting. Like if I was your psychiatrist, I'd be like, disaster.
Okay, listen. This wasn't like the Cleveland balloon disaster. This was a real disaster. I had to cut the toenails of my daughter. I got a little daughter. She needed her toenails cut.
She don't like that.
Listen, man, this thing. I mean, she told me that she thought I needed to just go to jail. That's what she told me, actually.
Well, what were you? I mean, maybe you did.
Well, I mean, no.
Listen, I've had some horrendous toenail cutting stories in my life. And I'm not talking about me cutting my child's toenails. Like, I never did it because of the way I was raised.
Of what happened to you when you were young?
When I was a child.
Well, I remember my mom did it until I started doing I probably started cutting my own nails when I was...
I envision that when you go to your mom's house for Christmas that she probably cuts your toenails. Okay. Yeah, I'm joking. Yeah. That'd be funny, though. That'd be a funny bit. If you brought like your girlfriend home for the first time or your wife or something.
No,
What's going on? Oh, my mom's cutting my toenails.
No, I don't. Weird. I do not need my mother to cut my toenails anymore. Thank you.
It's a joke.
I mean, I like it when I go over there and she brushes my hair for me.
Before you go to bed.
Yeah, she
usually the tangles out.
Yeah, she'll give me like 50 in the front, 50 in the back, just like I did when I was young.
Listen, man, my dad was a barber.
Yeah,
so we would have miscellaneous barber scissors.
Sure,
hanging around the house.
Okay, yeah,
and that is what this man cut our toenails with.
No, why would you? Why? Y'all didn't have clippers?
I don't know.
You didn't have toenail clippers?
I don't know. You know, I thought this was a funny bit for a long time.
Yeah,
and then I would just ask him, like, why was that a thing?
Right.
And then, like, he laughs and whatever. But then, like...
he laughs like he was in on the joke? Like he did it to traumatize you on purpose?
What was going on with him, though? Like, to where...
Why would you...
Why would he do that? How did he cut... Who was cutting his toenails and with what? Like... shears or something, you know what I mean?
Like, you know what? Maybe it's an old guy thing. I've seen my dad cut his nails like fingernails with like a knife. I'm like, what? Maybe that's
never been there.
Maybe that's how cowboys did it or something. Man, I don't know. Man.
Yeah, he would like headlock our foot because it was already a fight. It was like a fight.
Well, of course, he's taking scissors to your toes.
I mean, that was like my first independence from my parents. Jeez. Was like, no, I will do this by myself.
Right. Yeah.
You just knew that this wasn't right.
No kidding. Jeez.
And I'm not trying to...
Barber scissors that he used to cut hair with.
Besmirch the name of my father. I'm just telling you. Barber scissors were used on my feet.
God dang, man. That sounds like torture.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll be asleep.
Yeah. And have nightmares about it?
After a long day, I'll be dozed off to sleep. And you know how sometimes people say they have dreams like they're falling?
Yeah.
I have the dreams of like the fat end of that barber scissors going in between my toenail and the
oh my
skin
god
of my toe.
Oh god. Listen,
be sterile. Funny.
Oh my
but
lord,
it toughened me up. So that's why sometimes you see me, my toenails are 6 inches off the top of my if you've ever seen me around and wondered what's going on with his feet, that's why, man.
You try to clip them, but then you break out in a cold sweat, and you just like your hands start shaking.
Well, plus I gotta bend over the big fat belly and get down to the toe. I mean,
that sounds like a story from the.
Your toe's not in a very convenient spot to get to.
That reminds me of something you'd hear about in that Jackson 5 documentary. That sounds like
you better learn them steps.
Right.
Cut them toenails with the barber.
Cut your oh, okay. Mr. Step, let's see them toenails. No. Jeez Louise.
Do you remember when the Jackson 5, when they were, like a few years ago, they had their own reality show?
Not really.
It was like after, I think it was after Michael was dead. So it's like Jermaine, Jermaine, Jackie, and Tito.
Yeah.
And maybe Marvin was there in the other rain. I don't know. But those are the main three, you know. Yeah. And one of them, I don't know which one looks like the dad the most. I think it's Tito.
Okay.
And so Jermaine and Jackie are like in there doing vocals on some song.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this was a bit, but it was really funny how that happened. And Tito's like getting on them. You know,
getting on them about not hitting
it.
No,
that wasn't good enough. Yeah. That was flat or something.
Yeah.
And the other one goes, look at you in there. You might look like Papa Joe, but you don't scare me like him or something like that. I was just like, man.
Oh, man, that's funny.
That's really funny.
You know, those Jackson 5 guys, they don't get enough props for their comedy.
I'll tell you what they don't get enough props for.
Yeah?
Is I should look it up, and I should know this, but Tito played the bass, I think.
Yeah.
And Jermaine played the guitar.
Okay.
Okay, now they weren't on the records. That was definitely the Funk Brothers. But they were doing that stuff live, I'm pretty sure. And they're jumping around. Could you imagine if I was like, Joe, you got to come over, we got to learn these steps?
No, man. Every time I see the Jackson 5.
This bass hooked around you.
Every time I see a live thing of them, I think the same thing. Like, how is he keeping that bass going like that? How has he not missed anything?
And let me tell you something, Joe.
Yeah?
You better hold to God, Mr. Gordy. If you mess up.
Mr. Gordy?
Papa Joe gonna get you. You better make sure Gordy's there before. I watched that movie 1,000 times. That made-for-TV Jackson 5 movie that came out. In
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I hadn't seen it that many times, though. I've only seen it like
all the time.
Twice.
I thought it was fascinating that the same two people played Joe Jackson, and the mom also played Tina Turner and Ike Turner.
Really?
and what's that movie about Tina Turner? What's Love Got to Do with It?
What's Love Got to Do with It? That's funny.
Sure it's the same dynamic. I thought, they auditioned for it here, and then
they were like, "Hey, we're good at this.
We're good at this.
Let's keep going with the abusive couple thing. We're pretty good at this, like the Bunkers."
Although Ike Turner doesn't get enough credit. Ike Turner really doesn't get enough credit
for what part of his life? For his songs or for beating his?
No, I think he gets all the credit for
drugs and beating his wife, but he doesn't get enough for his musical talent.
Because pre-Tina.
You know what?
In stories I've heard, I think I'm not sitting here condoning domestic violence, but I've heard that she beat the crap out of him too.
Listen, I'm not going to bust you on that, because it's funny how some musicians, like, if they're really good at music, it seems like their shit will still sell, even if you learn something pretty weird about them.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Jerry Lee Lewis?
Right. Dude. Chuck Berry?
Dude. Elvis? Elvis is creepier than Jerry Lee Lewis.
I know it, man.
Age-wise.
Dude, there's a lot of stories like that, but you know what? Yeah, if you hear some crazy story about Elvis, do you think his record sales are going down?
No.
No, they ain't. They're gonna stay where they are. He's the king, though.
See, look at you. You just did it.
I'm not condoning anything. I'm just saying he's the king of rock and roll.
Man, dude. I guess. I don't know, man.
You're the one talking about Ike Turner.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying none of these guys would have got over now.
Well, that's
Twitter. They'd be like, "Did you hear about this and that?" And,
I know.
Well, screw this guy.
You gotta.
Well, actually, they wouldn't get over now because people don't listen to, music that's made by.
That's true.
Guitars and.
That's true. Music is pretty different.
Isn't that how distortion was started though? With Ike Turner, didn't he kick his amp or something?
I didn't think it was Ike Turner. I thought it was. I thought it was someone along. I thought distortion was started with the first guy that.
Something happened to somebody's amp. Right? They busted their amp, and they was like, "What is that?"
Maybe it was Ike Turner. No, it was. It was some old rock band.
Turner. I don't know.
I can't remember. I remember one of the first uses of distortion in recording was Marty Robbins. Marty Robbins, bass player, and it was a bad track on the recording equipment. It came through.
It was messed up.
The track was messed up, and it kind of buzzed when it came through, and they were like, "No, let's keep it."
Been there.
Yeah, I've been there, but I've never heard something come out there where I went, ooh, that sounds good. Let's keep that.
We're innovators.
Right.
Everybody's going to copy this.
It's more like, well, no, that's not good. Yeah. Not Marty Robbins guy. Boy, he was good.
Tina Turner would be one of those bands that, like, I would like to be in Tina Turner's band. Like, I'd like to be in charge of Tina Turner's band.
Well, you mean you'd like to be Tina Turner?
You mean you'd like to be Ike? I mean,
you'd like to be Ike Turner. It sounds to me like what we're getting at is Ike Turner. It's like your idol.
No, I mean, like now, like, okay. When we were in the Generals, my vision would always be like, we'll make these Generals records, but we'll also be like John Fogerty and the Generals.
Yeah.
Tina Turner and the Generals.
That would, yeah. That, you know what? I wish that had happened too. That did not happen with the Generals. We did some good fun things though, man. The Generals was a fun band.
Yeah, but we didn't go there. But I always thought that, you know, that would be a fun bit to be able to be like, oh, we're this person's band too, we're in this person's band, but we also do it.
You know, we were close to there. We tried. They tried to book us for a big festival, and then they like.
Jeez, I'm sorry. God, that's what we were talking about the Generals. Something like that happened.
Listen, I want to let all the people listening at home to know that Pete just went to reach for his coffee cup off of the desk, and
I'm drinking at 1:45 in the morning,
and then he turned back around in his chair, swiveled back around, and misjudged where his microphone was. And that sound you heard on the track just now was Pete's head slamming into his own microphone.
What's funny about the Generals is the time goes on. Like, I enjoyed my time. And when I hear stuff we did, I think, oh, yeah, y'all did really good. That was like shit, but y'all did really good. But, like...
Yeah. Generals were good.
But there's, like, I don't remember the good... Like, I remember, like, the oh no, we just picked this drummer up off the street top.
Well, see, that's what I was saying about that festival, man. Remember they booked us at a big gig.
Oh yeah,
and then like the monitors went out or something like that and started squealing. Yeah, like
before the band before we played,
like destroyed the PA.
Oh man, that was terrible.
Right, and we couldn't hear ourselves. And
that was the night that Texas Tech beat Texas. Remember?
No. Oh,
yes. Got that or kept them out of the.
Yeah,
I watched it in the hotel room.
I do remember that actually. Yeah, man, that was rough. You know, that was fun, and there was good things about that day that I'll always remember. But
the actual when it came what time we went there for,
right? When it came time to place on the stage, that was.
It was like okay, that's the only show. We'll end on this. Maybe we could do a general show sometime. Mm-hmm. But that we set up to play that show, right?
Yeah.
And it was like a festival, so there was band on before, band on after us.
Yeah.
When we went to kick off, it was like I looked at my amp. And I was like, there's no mic on that.
It's just my fairly small amp.
Whatever was heard that day was your bass.
Right.
Whatever they were hearing from the drums.
Right.
And the lead guitar. And whatever we were hearing what the vocals were sounding like before we went out there, and they just sounded like aliens. You know, the speakers were blown.
Right. It was, yeah. The
speakers were completely blown. They should have just called the day, man.
Yeah. Well, whatever we were doing up there, whatever we were doing was not entertain people. If anything, it was annoying them because.
Well, it was real annoying.
It was
because there was nobody around the stage. Because everybody was like as far back from the stage. Because even before we played, nobody was around the stage. Everybody as far back as they could be because those speakers were just completely blown. For a festival, dude. That guy was supposed to be our manager. I never talked to him again, man. I never spoke another word to that guy. But you know what? I think it was like a mutual thing. I think he knew,
right?
Because he wasn't like reaching out.
Yeah.
Because we went down. You know what I mean? And it's like noon, and we get out of the car, and that dude was wasted, man.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, let's put this over here, and of course, he was probably just some dumbass that just put all this, we got these speakers and this amp and plug.
No contingency for if something goes wrong, and then just, man.
And I had the distinct feeling that everybody in that bar wanted to kick my ass. That's what it felt like. I mean, maybe not, but it was just like, when you have that feeling of like, you're already kind of like, all right, we got to play. But then you can hear that the sound. I mean, when you hear the band before you, that their sound is blown, and you're playing on that same sound system, like, what? You're just walking the plank, man.
Right. Yeah. Just
the shit some people don't have to deal with.
Yeah. I guess some people don't have to deal with that, but I feel like that's I feel like by now if I was to go to a gig and a curveball like that happened, like I feel like it would no longer make me feel like, oh my God, what's wrong? Because it's like
that day was so deer in the headlights though, because it was just like we got there and you hear the sound and you're like, what's up? And it didn't look like the people on the stage knew what was up.
Right. That was one of the first times I think that like a disaster happened, that it really did kind of get to you. It's like, man, this sucks. And it sucks because that was such a good opportunity to have a lot of people hear us. Yeah. That would have, I think, we had at the time, a bunch of merch
and stuff too, but nobody even knew what our name was because they couldn't understand anything we're saying.
I think at the time, which I mean, they still can't understand anything we're saying, but I think at the time, that would have been the biggest crowd we had ever played to. Because I mean, it was pretty packed.
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of people. Anyway, and you know what? But that does remind me. Next show, we should talk about all the times that we've had people that came up and said, "Oh, I'll be your manager," because I feel like that's happened plenty of times too.
Dude, let's do that.
It never come out right.
Let's talk about our manager. I didn't even think about that.
That's a good teaser.
Let's go make a list.
All right. Is that going to be next time on the?
Let's do that next on the podcast.
On the show
number 4. All right. Hey, Dexter, get back in here, man. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this podcast between Joe and Pete there. They sure do appreciate it. Why don't you stop by, listen to the playlist, maybe check out Gospel Song Sunday. There are some no-cover episodes. And remember, Pete will be playing acoustic solo September 5th at the Roundabout in Rockwall while Joe Ben plays with another band. Excuse me? Okay, I can't read your mind. Joe Ben will be playing with another band on September 5th. Pete will be playing solo at the Roundabout in Rockwall. We will also be at the Junkyard Dogs MC on September 11th in Terrell, Texas.
Don't forget to thank the Herald Banner.
Thank you for the Herald Banner for having classifieds. And we'll see you next time on This Thing.